So let's jump right into the overview. All right, so the Fall 2 data collection is dictated by legislation and accountability needs, right? And so it's always going to be, Department of Education and the CDE on yes, so the federal and the state departments of ed that are driving the data collection. And so we have public facing data that's provided. A lot of that you will see in the school accountability report card as it pertains to our class size and our teachers' demographics. You have to, report to meet accountability measures. Title III or EL services is mandated by the Every Student Succeeds Act or ESSA. Identification of inexperienced teachers as well. Then the Office of Civil Rights information is used to make sure that we're meeting our obligation to provide services to the EL students. And then, of course, we have the CTC and through CalSAS does our assignment monitoring. And so Fall 2 has only grown since its exception, which is consistent with CalPADS in general. Who are involved in the data collection? So everything is going to begin with you. You are the CalPADS LEA coordinator, and you're going to have to manage the information or collect information from your school sites, your human resource staff, and other staff, the departmental heads, program staff, people who work, maybe clerical jobs like uh, curriculum instruction or counselors, who knows, right? And so you have to consider who is putting the information about your students, about your staff into your SIS. And so, quite honestly, this is a point of weakness. Um, I have never spoken directly with human resource staff. And so, although we know during the hiring process, our educators and their credential information and their history, their background, their education is collected, and then somehow it gets into the student information system. This group of staff doesn't really buy in. And so every LEA has to find a way to manage, set up protocol and practices to make sure that the human resources are involved or the data coordinators have access to the human resource system so they can have accurate information. This is always a point of contention, and each LEA has to figure that out for themselves. The school sites are, fairly good, right? They understand the importance of CalPads because of fall one and end of year. But it's important to have good practices and procedures in place as students move within schools. Um, that could affect your fall two reporting, or if a student moves from one class to another since fall one or during the course of the school year, that could affect your reporting. So making sure that school rosters and enrollment history is up to date is very important. The identification of programs, if they're special education or if they're English learners, is important. And then when you're populating the courses, right? The courses, the curriculum of instruction, the services that are provided through the course or to the students is important as well. And so you have the other staff. And so um, it's something worth considering if you're at a strong LEA and you have support, a meeting, trying to develop some organization would be very beneficial. But the thing is, if you can't answer who submits this data to your student information system, the one thing we know is they can't answer that. And so uh, having this organization really makes the fall two submission much smoother. All right, just key dates. So we're certifying fall two on March 1st. It's called fall two, not spring one or spring three, because if you look at to the left or the kind of teal looking color, October 5th, all the data is reflective of census day, just like fall one. So we're looking back to the fall, regardless of the time we certify the data, we're looking back to the fall. And so um, staff may change, students may switch classrooms, but we're looking at everything reflective as of census day. And then snapshots have been processing since December 18th. So if you're new or you're have moderate level of experience, I point this out because this is the day you could have begun looking at your reports. You can actually submit your files for fall two concurrently with fall one. Um, and those LEAs who are most successful with fall two always get an early start. And so if you're new and you didn't think you can start until January, just know you can always start submitting those files, looking at the ODS reports during fall one period. But you can actually look at the snapshots usually at the end of the fall one submission window. And that's typically because of system limitations. If we're running fall one and fall two snapshots, the system may get bogged down. So this is a placeholder. And so we just want to walk through some resources really quickly before I hand this over to Kyron. So you've already seen the user manual. Um, I showed you how to get to the fall two roadmap. But if we take a little bit of time to scroll down, you can see the calendar, right? It tells you all the dates. This is not just for fall two, but upcoming end of year, so you can plan ahead. And then you have this submission checklist, and the submission checklist is an Excel spreadsheet. Um, but it's very useful as far as organization, and it's a good resource. I'm not a checklist person, but I can't deny the value of the checklist. So it's updated every year. This is just a roadmap. We have this in the wrap up conclusion slide, kind of help you set target dates. And then here's the checklist. And just about every activity, as new activities are identified, they're added. You can add your own because it's an Excel spreadsheet. You can expand upon this, but it allows you to look at a task, assign someone with your LEA. You can get their signature so they check off and a date completed. And you can expand on this, make a combination with this in a racing matrix, have several different levels of responsibilities or uh, information. But because all the tasks are here, and if you're not experienced, maybe you might miss a step. It's just a great outline. It maps it through. It's very detailed, and it will get you through the certification process to include reviewing reports at the end. So that's something that we wanted to point out. Then you can see here I have bookmarked appropriate credentialed. The CTC's website is very important. If you ever just Google CalSAS information, when we're in the Q&A and I'm looking for some answers about assignment monitoring, I just Google CalSAS information and it brings me here. If you go to the CTC's website without a bookmark, it's kind of hard to get here. This particular will tell you the credentials needed for every course. Here's this CalPADS state course codes. Here are the credentials needed, but that's only part of it. If I go here, this talks about, you can see exceptions, termination statuses, uh, non-classroom based assignments in addition to course codes. So this is a very useful website as well. And then last but not let's go to CalPADS system documents. And so one, of course, you're going to need the code sets, the file specifications, but the valid code combinations is a very useful document, which we'll demonstrate how to use it later, partly because I don't have it open already and I need to download it while Kyron's talking, but that's neither here nor there. And the data guide. These are great documents that will help you and you'll become familiar with. If you ever get an error that says invalid combination, this is typically a good place to look for the answer in the valid code combinations document. Or if you're using reference material like the um, file specifications or the error list, you'll see a reference to the valid combinations. So those are some of the resources that you will find useful in your certification efforts. And so going to conclude this overview, let's just recap real quickly what files will be submitted. And this is what we're going to talk about here shortly. You always want to begin with your staff demographics. This provides information about your Teachers or your credentialed staff members, the employment start date or end date. Um, you identify those teachers of records that are reported and other staff members that are active on Census Day. And then you tell us what their assignments are um, with their non-classroom based job assignments and their job classification codes. You also identify the time they work in each job classification or school through the FTE, the course and student course records working in combination to tell us the course attributes and the content of the course and which students are enrolled in those courses on Census Day. And then the PSTS has no relationship with the previous four files. It's only required for those students that are grades 9 through 12. Um, and this is telling us who the CTE completers, this is telling us the outcomes of the CTE completers from the previous years. So these are students that were completers last year in the summer, and 6 months after they've completed, you're telling us what they're doing now. So when you're submitting your files, since the post redesign, there's not a strict relationship to the sequence. However, uh, if you begin with the staff demographic, then move on to the staff assignment, in the course section and the student course section, this is the most efficient method. You have less errors because you're not missing any data. There used to be dependencies where if you had a staff assignment and the demographic wasn't submitted, you couldn't submit some of those assignments. So, those restrictions were lifted so that the files process faster. However, there's errors that will indicate missing information. So you want to make sure that you submit sequentially. One thing is if you want to submit them all at once, that's more acceptable now. Just make sure that they all post before you start looking at your uh, snapshot or your DDs. Um, you can see there's an asterisk by the staff assignment, the course section enrollment, and the student course section enrollment files. These are full replacement files. So very generally, when you submit one record in this file, it will replace any existing data with the matching or the same operational key in CalPADS. So if I submit a course section record because I forgot to tell how the EL services were provided, just one course, and I want to make sure that the EL services provided have been populated, it's going to wipe out the other 200 courses I submitted for my district, and I'm going to have one course record. So when you're submitting the staff assignment, the course section, and the student course section, you want complete data sets. You want the whole file. Um, and if the operational key will tell you, if you look to the table to the left for the staff assignment, it goes by school of assignment. So if you want to restrict the file to just one school, you can do that, and all the other schools won't be affected. Uh, so, it is by operational key. I gave you a very general uh, kind of description of how it works. The other thing to take away from this is if you submitted the majority of your information and you're worried about kind of replacing data that's existing and you only have a limited number of records to update, you can always use online maintenance. And then the post-secondary status is full replacement as well, but this has been less problematic because just a single file type and it has no relationship with the other file types.